Hello YouTube. Today I've decided to share about my experience giving birth in Thailand. I've got my speaking stick here, so it is time to share. The reason why I decided to share this story, this experience at the river, is because of the trauma that I have around it. It's my baby's birthday is coming up in a few days. She's going to be turning 1 year old, so it's really time to kind of let this story come out and to release that kind of pain and that negativity around it and celebrate it. And I'm gonna jump into the water after I finish sharing and let all that tension and stuff kind of flow into the water and have a big cleanse, get it out of my system. And so that's why we're at the river. For viewers who aren't used to kind of this topic of giving birth, I am going to go into kind of details about, like, you know, bum holes and other kind of stuff. I don't know what's going to come up, let's see. But if you're a little bit squeamish, kind of like just a warning about that. My birth experience was traumatizing in some senses, but I did also have a good birth experience in the sense that there was no problems with baby. She was fine all the way through and she came out. There was no kind of big emergency or anything to alarming or anything. It was smooth in that kind of sense. And kind of the traumatic side of it was my experience being in a Thai hospital for the birth. So I did end up at hospital, and I'll tell you why. And for those of you that are watching this because you're wanting to perhaps do a free birth and prepare yourself, I'm sharing this information not to kind of scare you or induce any kind of anxiety around that kind of possibility, but more so that you can use my lessons as a way to prepare yourself so that you can have more success or, you know, like hopefully a higher chance of success at having your dream birth experience. Because I've definitely learned some stuff from it. If there were to be another time, I would try a free birth again, and I'd go into it with a lot more kind of prep in case of anything came up that led me astray. There is a possibility I might get banned from Thailand for sharing this information. They're not exactly a country that is, I'd say, okay with speaking out about stuff like this. So I'm kind of interested to see if anything does happen. I probably won't know until I reach the airport next time I go to Thailand if my name has a big X on it. I've thought about that, and I love Thailand, but if they ban me for sharing kind of a true experience, then I don't want to be in that country. So let's get into it. I wanted to have a free birth, an unassisted birth. So not in the hospital, no one present except for myself, obviously, and my partner. If I could have, I would have loved to have a doula present and even kind of a more holistic midwife. That would have been great. But because I was staying in a really, really small little village, basically, in the northeast of Thailand, that wasn't an option. So I went with free birth. To prepare for a free birth, I watched a lot of YouTube videos and listened to podcasts about from other women who had positive free birth experiences. I also really kind of studied about birthing stages so that I could hopefully try and recognize what stage I was in or what to do at certain points. I did look into what usual processes or procedures that they do at the hospitals in terms of interventions, but I didn't study about in Thailand specifically. The stuff I was listening to and learning from was from New Zealand hospitals and Australia as well, because I guess that's where I'm from, and so it was easy for me to find that information. I didn't study the American kind of ways because already of the understanding that it's quite different from New Zealand. So that was the preparation I did, which was that was a mistake about just focusing on New Zealand and Australian hospital procedures, because they are very different, as I found out, from Thailand, but we'll get to there soon. The day leading up to the birth, I had a feeling that it was coming on because I had a kind of a false alarm the day before. I think I may be in early labour. I woke up at 4:30, felt like I needed to go poo, like in a really big crampy way. So I did that, I came back and the cramps didn't go away. It was around 11 p.m. I think that I started feeling some contractions that were quite intense. I don't know, I thought I was having contractions for like 3 hours and they were consistent, and then I decided to have a nap to conserve my energy, and after that they just stopped. So now they're coming back again, but they're not consistent. But the last one I had was crazy painful, and I am now like, holy shit, how am I gonna get through this? Yeah, it was the first time I could feel it like in my vagina instead of just in my abdomen, and it really does feel like my vagina is gonna break. So I'm feeling a little bit scared about this now. But yeah, I will get through to the other side. My partner was asleep at the time. I had already read like that there's no need to like wake up right now and get into it. It's going to take a while. So he was sleeping away, and then I was using an app on my phone to time the contractions, and as soon as the app said you're in labour, I woke him up. So that was around 1 a.m. and then I went downstairs. Had a yoga ball there. I was just sitting on the yoga ball or using it as a way to kind of just sway and rock myself for comfort. While I was doing that, my partner started filling up the blow-up bath that we had with hot water. That was a real mission for him because we didn't have like a hose or anything like that to connect the water to. So he was boiling the jug and also boiling water on a stove outside on gas, and manually filling up the bath that way. So it took kind of a couple hours to fill up the bath, which is why we started quite early. I jumped into the bath. It instantly felt so nice to be in there. My mistake probably was that I didn't try to walk around like I had read, you know, like walk around, get some movement going, that's going to help with the kind of labour. I didn't do that. I just wanted to get in the water and feel kind of that comfort. So that's one lesson. Contractions were getting more intense, and I could really feel the pain in my bum. really my bum. And when I would feel down there, this is kind of after about 6 hours, I could feel down there, and I could feel how big I had hemorrhoids from, I hadn't been like pushing, but because I had read like that you don't really need to push because the body will push when it's ready, when the baby's ready to come out. So I was just letting my body do its thing and kind of feeling through those motions. But yeah, at that point I had these huge hemorrhoids. They were so painful. I was trying all sorts of different positions. I was on my back, on all fours. I was, you know, just doing whatever, and nothing felt comfortable, to be honest. Oh.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
And then kind of it got to the point where so it was about 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. I said to my partner, do you think the hospital will have something for the pain? And here's me wanting a completely natural free birth. No drugs, no nothing. being so adamant about it. And then I'm like, can they do something for the pain? And my partner was just like, I don't know. Like, he had no clue. We had not even questioned at all what would happen if we were to end up at a Thai hospital for the birth. And that was my big mistake, because yeah, I was in so much pain that I was willing to do anything to relieve that pain. And yeah, I got to this point where I was like, yeah, let's go to the hospital. This pain is actually unbearable. No, if I should go to hospital or not.
If you say you want to go, we can't go.
I just don't know what they're gonna do there. It's so hard to move. Got myself into the car and we went to the hospital. It was literally just around the corner. So it was like a 1-minute drive. So we got there, we got to the hospital, and they were like, no, we don't have anything for the pain. Because I thought, like in New Zealand, you can have like laughing gas or an epidural, or well, those are the two things that I can remember right now. Or like those electric, those things that zap you and that kind of like does something where you don't feel the pain for some reason. Yeah, so there's a few different options there. So I thought, oh, Thailand will have something like that. Could be some laughing gas. We got there and they were like, no, we don't have anything for the pain. You can have a Caesarean though. So Thailand are very like, push Caesarean as the #1 form of delivery. Like as soon as you tell the doctor that you're pregnant, they're like, okay, let's book you in for your Caesarean. That's how it is. I was in so much pain in my bum with my hemorrhoids that I was like, okay, yeah, I will have a Caesarean. And I knew as well that Caesarean would be a very hard postpartum period during that kind of healing phase. But that pain was so intense that I was just like, yeah, anything, I'll do anything. If it's my only option, give it to me. Yeah, so my whole like, I want to have a natural birth went completely out the window. And all those kind of, you know, I had a vision like, just us, me, daddy, and baby snuggling up afterwards, you know, in our cozy home, like, oh, just like this picture of like, just, you know, so nice. But yeah, that pain really got me. And so when they're like, okay, well, we can't do the Caesarean here because it was like a tiny village hospital, so you'll have to go to the district hospital, which is like normally a half-an-hour drive away through the mountains. I was like, oh my god, okay. They were like, okay, so before you can have your Caesarean, we need to check how dilated you are. And so here I am going, oh, I know what happens with this. I know that this is a risk, this intervention. I know that this is going to set off a chain of events of not good things happening. That's kind of what I had learned with natural free births. Oh, the sun's really hitting me now. I didn't know what was involved in them checking how dilated I was. So, yeah, I think she shoved her hand up there, finger, or I don't know, it felt like a freaking hand. It was a horrible sensation, and it wasn't just for like 10 seconds either. It felt like a couple of minutes. I always remember looking at it being like, how do you not know yet? Anyway, she came back and said that I was 2 centimeters dilated. I was like, oh my god, are you joking? So I jumped in the ambulance. The driver drove like he was a race car driver, and it was through the mountains, and I had to stay on my back still on the hospital, on the bed in the ambulance. And so it was intense pain. The ambulance van was like and like swerving around. It was just like this and like this, and it was so painful. When I got to the hospital, they wanted to check again how dilated I was. I was like, oh my god, no, again. And so at this point I was crying because of that, and then they checked and I said I was fully dilated. Breathe it out, let the water, let it out, let it out, let it out. Release. I'll do my other hand. They said that this means that you can't have cesarean, it's time to deliver. So as soon as I heard that, I was just like, oh my god, I should have stayed at home because you can't have anything for the pain anyway. And now I'm at the hospital. Oh my god. So that moment was just like, I was like, oh. I was screaming as well in pain, and I think that they just were like, wow, what the hell, this farang has come, like farang means foreigner, has come into the hospital screaming in pain. Usually people like have to keep it quiet even though they're in excruciating pain. Not me. I was like, so yeah, they took me into the delivery room. My partner wasn't there. I was like, what's going on there? No one spoke any English, so there was like a team of like 3 or 4 of them with me. They put me onto a really high hospital bed on my back with my legs open. It felt so clinical. I felt so uncomfortable in that position because again, I was still on my back. My hemorrhoids were insane. My contractions would come and they'd be like, push, push, and I was like, well, in my head I was like, I don't want to push, I want my body to like do it naturally. So I was kind of like just pretending to push. And then the lady, one of the staff, the hospital staff, this is the warning of something horrible that is the biggest thing that I have to heal from mentally and physically. She put her hand in my vagina and she did this thing where she very aggressively tried to loosen me, and I was just like, stop, and whacked her hand away, and I was just like big-eyed, like, what the are you doing? They didn't speak any English. They told me to push again. She did it again. She tried to do this, like, she did it about like 3 or 4 times, and every time I was like, stop, no, and would like push her hand away. And then my partner came into the room. They had decided to let him in because I wasn't going along with what they were telling me to do, and there was a language barrier. So they were trying to get him to, get me okay with what they're doing. And so I was just told him, like, no, don't let her do it. That was excruciating. And what it did is actually made my body so tense that I felt unsafe to give birth there. And so I think that really affected kind of how the bub wanting to come out because of that. I didn't feel safe there. There I am on my back with my legs open, and this lady is aggressively trying to loosen me. Like that's the body's job. It's in labour, it will soften as it needs to in its own way. Like, my body's designed to do that. And so that was the biggest traumatizing kind of thing. Also, I kept asking for water and they kept saying no. And my partner was like, no, they won't give you water. And because everything I had learned was like, keep drinking the water, so that, because you need that kind of energy, and you're like, my throat was so dry. When you're really thirsty and you just really need water? It was like that, and I was in labour. Anyway, I understand they probably don't give you water in case you have to go into surgery or something or whatever. I told my partner that I wanted to change position. I wanted to go on all fours because the pain in my bum was too much to be lying on my back. And he asked them and they said, no, I can't change my position. And that was kind of the only thing. And the thing is, like, I'd like to believe that I would have the power to be like, not just going to sit here and take no as an answer from you. I'm going to get up and go on the floor and just do it anyway. But literally I couldn't move. Would have needed a team of them to like help me get up off this high bed, because I'm up higher than, like, I can't just like whip my leg around like this and get off. Like, the bed was really high, you know, I need people to help me down. So yeah, I felt like I was trapped there, and me splashing the water every time something comes up. They periodically would check on baby's heartbeat with a, you know, I don't know what it's called, the thing that just they put on the belly and they can hear the heartbeat, and she was fine all the time, so there was no cause for alarm or anything like that. But they were really like push every time my contractions, like you know, that term. I just wanted to get out of there, so I think I did start trying to push, but also, like, I know deep in my heart my body also wasn't really trying to push as well, because that part of me was like, no, I'm not supposed to push, actually, it's not time yet. And I was making so much noise, they were telling me to be quiet. One of the girls was like, can you try not to be so loud? And I was like, no, sorry, I can't. I had learned somewhere that if you, like, when you're like, you know, like, if you're making too much noise, like screaming, it doesn't actually help with the like pushing of the baby out. So I had read that, and I probably was doing that part wrong. But also I was probably more screaming at the fact that I was in there and what they were doing to me. At one point they were like, okay, we're gonna push down on your stomach to help her come out. I hadn't come across this before. I was like, so I didn't really know what that entailed, and I was like, okay, you know, and my contractions, I can't really talk, just like screaming and stuff. Someone pushed down on my stomach to try and push the baby out, and the pain from that was even 1,000,000 times more horrific than everything else. And I was just like, wow, no. I stopped her mid her push and was like, no, like, I screamed, and I was like, wow, unbelievable pain from that. Then later on, after a few more contractions and pushing, they said that they wanted to do that again, and I was like, no, telling my partner, no, I don't want to do that, no. And then they were saying that then at some point the doctor came in. So at the time it was like the delivery nurses, but then at some point a doctor came in, and he could speak a little bit of English, and he wanted to push down on my stomach, and he also wanted to give me an episiotomy, which is where they cut the skin to make the opening larger. I kept saying no to that because I had vaguely read about that and how the healing process of having that procedure done was a lot longer to heal than the body's natural softening and even natural tears. The body is designed to do that, so it knows how to heal that. So I kept saying no. Then it got to a point where they just kept on trying to get me to say yes, and they really got to me, and I ended up saying like yes to the pushing down on my stomach, even though in my head I was like, no, that can't be good for her. Like, it got to the point where I was like, why are they like pounding me about this? Like, and because they were trying to get me to do two things, I felt like I had to say yes to one thing. And like, I believe that nobody should be hounding you or making you feel like you need to say yes to anything that they're recommending. And the amount of times that they tried to put that pressure on me about this is not okay, because there were no signs from my baby that she was at risk. Her heartbeat was fine. I was in that room for a total of 1 hour by the time Bub came out. That's it, just 1 hour. And so I was like, okay, one more time they can push, but no to cutting. And I heard my partner tell them that. And so then I had in my head like, okay, I'm gonna push, and he's gonna push, and she's gonna come out this time, because I just need this experience to stop and get out of here. And so that contraction happened, and I pushed, and he pushed down my stomach, and they cut me. Even though we said no, they cut me. Baby came out, but they did the episiotomy, and yeah. So I did not say yes to that. It was very, very clear. I remember hearing Wasit say no to that, and they did it anyway. And after she came out, the first thought I had was, I was like, doesn't matter everything, and it doesn't matter, she's out now and she's fine, and like, yay, she's here. And you just like, everything just kind of melts away when the bub's out. Wasit had asked them not to cut the cord, because we wanted to, you know, have all those stem cells, and that just, we wanted to have that experience of delayed cord cutting. But they cut that anyway. They put her on my stomach for literally like 1 minute, enough time for them to get a photo of us all with Bub on my stomach. They didn't allow us to give her time to feed from my boob straight away. They just that time, 1 minute on me. It was really beautiful to have her on my stomach though, just that little cuddle and feeling like she's here. Straight after that, they kind of, you know, took her away and did their thing. Washed her, put some stuff on her eyes, all the stuff that I kind of wouldn't have wanted to do. They made Wasit leave the room. They came back with some forms they got me to sign. It was all in Thai, there was no English. I signed it anyway. At that point I was just like, I just want to get out of here. They had her wrapped up in blankets on the like a bench thing, and I just had to look at her basically from afar while they stitched up my episiotomy, which took time. It literally took like at least half an hour, and I was like, I just want to hold my baby, and she's over there, and like, you're doing this and I can't even hold her. I heard them talking. My Thai isn't great, but I can understand a little bit, and I heard them commenting about how hungry they were because it was like 12:45 and they hadn't had lunch yet, and how it was the longest delivery ever. It was 1 hour that I was there from arrival to her coming out. It took 1 hour, and they were saying that was the longest they've ever had. So that's them like really rushing people through. Isn't that horrible? When I finally got wheeled out and got to meet my baby on the bed, as I was approaching her, some medical admin or nurse, I'm not sure, but another worker there came over and took a photo on their phone of my baby, and I was just like, what is that for? And also the photo they took when she was on my stomach, like I never saw that photo. I don't know where that went. Don't know where the photo is that she took on her phone either. After that, they sent a photo to the local hospital, the first one they had gone to show them that the baby was out, had been delivered. So I wasn't happy about that, because like, that's private. The first photo of my bub, and it's not me taking it, and I don't even know where that photo is or who it's going to or the purpose. Like, what the heck? By the way, we ended up having to stay at that hospital. Want to check that the baby's okay, you know? She did end up having jaundice, so after 2 days we had to stay for a few days more until her kind of blood levels were okay. During that time they were trying to give her a vaccine for something, can't remember off the top of my head, and I had already familiarised myself with the New Zealand vaccine schedule for babies, and I knew that they don't start until a few months after birth, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because I don't think like jabbing my baby up as soon as they've come out of my womb is a good idea in case there are any kind of concerns like jaundice or anything else that they have to battle. I want her to have like full power, you know, instead of having to. They wanted us to give her a vaccine. I said no. I said we'll do it later, like in a couple of months when we know that she's totally fine. And they were so upset by it. They put on the pressure for us to do it. They came by like multiple times in a couple of days trying to get us to change our minds. And then they called the hospital, the other hospital, the local hospital, to say that we had said no. And then that hospital called Wasit's mum, my partner's mum, to say that we were saying no to that. And that's just breach of privacy. Yeah. so that was a whole kind of thing. Like culturally in Thailand, you're not supposed to like question stuff, you know, that yeah, if someone that's in a higher esteem kind of, you know, title tells you to do something, you do it. And I'm not like that. I'm like, give me the information about it, tell me what my options are, tell me the effects, blah blah blah, and I'll make an informed decision. Yeah, so they were pretty shocked at my behaviour. So anyway, there's lots of other stuff post-birth that I could complain about, but we'll leave it here as the labour experience, and hopefully there's enough in there for you to know how to handle these things happening if you are to end up in that situation, or know someone who is, or if you're just here to listen to the story. Thank you for hearing me vent. I have needed to share this story. I haven't shared this story with anyone actually, and it's been a whole year. I'm going to go to the waterfall, so I haven't swum there yet, and I'm going to get that cleansed, get it all out of my system, and I'm going to go find my bub. She's in daddy's arms somewhere in the forest around here having a nap. Yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. And yeah, that's that story. Wow, time to move on. Wasit was absolutely incredible. He was amazing during the labour at home, and also at the hospital, and post birth as well. Like, just he's been such an amazing partner and father and everything. Like this, I've really gotten lucky, and I can't believe how incredible he's been. So I'm so thankful for him.
Happy birthday, dear Sabi. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray! Yay! Yay! Oh, yummy.